Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Here are your hosts, Jmann and Danny, the Midwest motherfuckers. Welcome to another fucktastic episode of the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
And I'm Danny.
And we just spent 45 minutes fucking around with technical difficulties because we don't even understand our own goddamn recording software.
I don't know what you did. You bumped something.
We're pros. Super pros.
See, what happened is Audacity is what we record on, and all of a sudden all the tools are in the wrong spot, and it's kind of throwing us off. It seems like it's updated.
These are like in the same spot.
Some of us in the right spot, but I'm telling you, that was up there, and that was up there.
And then we were fucking around with how the mics record, and then we were fucking around with the speaker output, and Jesus Christ, all kinds of rookie mistakes that we shouldn't be having 9 episodes in.
And now we're going to try to explain to people how you want to be a president.
Yeah, because we've had a few conversations recently where I brought up more stuff, and you're like, we should probably cut another Jmann for President segment. And I was like, okay, fine, let's do this. So what we're going to do now is like a Q&A. I'm going to be me, obviously, and you're going to bust my balls being who?
The asshole press.
All right. Well, this hopefully will go smoothly.
Maybe a little mainstream media, maybe some fringe conspiracy theories. In the audience, we'll see.
Don't go all Megyn Kelly on me. I don't want blood coming from your eyes, from your everywhere.
She's hot.
Yeah, but she's a cut.
Yeah, well, I'd hate fuck her.
Touché.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not how a president talks, is it? As president,
I think we've established that I'm not the typical...
If you were actually running, would you be changing the way you speak? Or would you just let him have it?
No, I'd be me all the time. I'd let him have it because too many people try to be prim and proper these days, and they're trying to satisfy the PC agendas of the liberal extremists that you can't swear, you can't do this, and you can't do that. And why the fuck not? They're words. They're words.
Because you hurt people's feelings.
Yeah, you know what? I have 2 little girls, and they know what most of the swear words are because they hear me say them. And they also know that they can't use them. And I say, you're a kid, you can't swear. When you get to be a teenager and you want to swear, fine. Fine, we'll talk about it then, but those are grown-up words. And they get it. It's weird. It was a teachable moment, and they got it. Instead of avoiding the conversation and trying to go, you can't do that.
That's because kids aren't fucked up yet, but they are behaving.
Wait
until they get their own ego. And that's when they'll start talking back to you.
Well, they already talk back a little bit. But I just play with it. I'm just like, don't give me that sass, girl.
You know, one thing on one of the last episodes people were cracking up about is, God damn it.
Isn't that great? God damn it.
Oh, the timing on it, that was just hilarious.
That's just who she is. She was giving me more shit today. We were riding in the car. And she's like, you don't tell me that. You're not the boss of me. I'm the boss. I'm like, okay, you know what? Grow. Like, 3 feet taller, motherfucker, and then we'll talk. But right now, your rudimentary grasp of the English language means that you will never be the boss of me.
Fair enough.
So let's get into some more questions here.
All right. Well, everybody's gonna want to know right off the bat what you think of what's your drug policy.
My drug policy is I'd legalize weed. I don't think we should legalize heroin and methamphetamine.
So you're gonna maintain a half war with the drugs?
Kind
Or would you decriminalize them? Give them a fine.
A fine would work, except that most druggies don't have a lot of money to pay fines. You know, like, hey, give us money. Oh, I don't have any money. Why don't you have any money? Because they spend it all on drugs. That makes perfect sense.
I suppose we did kind of touch on this on that first episode. Foreign policy. Where do you stand with Russia? Where would the U.S.-Russian relationship go? Currently, it's kind of hot.
It's because Putin doesn't like Obama. And I think if we elect Hillary, Jesus Christ.
But we're going to try to elect you.
Well, yeah, you got to project where it's going to go in the next 4 years because we're getting somebody new. So it could be total. If it's Trump, ironically, he's the most fucked up, disastrous candidate that we could have in the White House.
But the first thing you just said in this podcast, you basically described Trump. Trump says what he wants and he don't give a fuck.
You know, there's a difference though because being yourself. And then being yourself while trying to... Like, he's trying to portray a brand. He's playing a character. It's not even like he's being real. He should just relax. I think if he smoked a giant doob, you might get the real Donald Trump. But when he's on camera, he's pandering to all his fucking audience that loves all the fucked up shit he says. And he's just trying to be outrageous for the sake of sensationalism, to get more press, to get more clicks, to get his name out there. He's trying to sell the brand. He's a businessman, so that's all he understands is business.
And again, I think that's kind of what we need.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, but Putin respects the shit out of Trump, he said.
Oh, yeah.
Which
exactly.
is ironic. I don't think that's going to stop us from going to war with another major superpower. Like New Year's Eve, I was like, count your stars right now, because in a few months, like 12 months, we could be saying President Trump and World War III in the same sentence. Because who fucking knows? Foreign policy, I think we need to rely less on cheap exports and imports from China.
You want to get rid of Chinese stuff altogether, or you want to take it back a half step?
You could never get rid of it altogether. We're too reliant. But maybe if Mexico wasn't so fucking drug-riddled and the narcos didn't control it.
Maybe once you get rid of the drug war, I'm just saying, maybe it'll turn them around.
Possibly.
That contributes a lot to the violence.
I know a lot of people get pissed off because Ford opened up a major plant in Mexico. And they're like, why do you open it in America? Well, it's cheaper. That's the only way that what we have at the rate that we create and consume is sustainable, is to find cheaper places to have it. But China is not the fucking place to have it because they want to blow us off the planet. They think they're number one. We think we're number one. We're both full of shit. I don't think you really need to sit there and wave your pricks about who's on top of the hog pile. But really, I mean, I don't think we need to be so involved in what's going on in the Middle East. It's kind of hard to back out of it now. Had the Arab Spring not gone the way that it had, and had Obama just said, you know what, fuck it, you guys figure it out. You've been at war for thousands of years, nothing's getting solved, and you don't want our interference, fine, figure it out for yourselves. And then we would have had maybe as much chaos over there without it spilling into ISIS recruiting and encouraging lone wolf terrorist attackers over here and in France and in Britain. Like, you got to wonder how much of our history of wading into the waters of international conflicts has caused all this backlash against us. Like, do they hate us for our culture? Or do they hate us because we're so full of shit that we think we need to go solve everybody's problems? Which is ironic because they're always asking us to come solve their problems.
I think they're just jealous.
They could be.
I personally think we are the greatest nation.
We have the greatest mix of freedoms and basically control, but I mean, how many people go, well, they do it like this in that country. They do it like this in that country.
But then they don't explain the other things about that country.
No.
Like what's the big one?
Australia minus guns.
Switzerland.
We always go round and round about Australia taking out the guns. Switzerland is what?
They always talk about how like men get a year off after their woman has a child. Their college is all paid for. Their this is paid for. Their that is paid for. But then they don't mention how fucked up their economy is, and you don't get paid worth shit. You're too busy feeding all these government programs.
I wonder are they one of the countries that has like conscription, where you have to do like 2 years in the military? Every guy has to do 2 years in the military.
I'm not sure, but that's kind of how it is.
Because there's a number of guys on the Wild, like Mikko Koivu and Mikael Granlund. I think they're from Finland or something, and they are Norway. I mean, some of those countries, they have mandatory conscription, which might work here.
I can see it's not a terrible idea.
Other foreign policy. Well, you asked about Russia. I don't know what to do with Putin.
North Korea is supposedly just...
Fuck them.
Test
you know what I would do? SEAL Team 6 the shit out of that pudgy little cunt. And say, you know what? You have kept your people poor and stupid. You've starved them.
Okay, but
enough.
You just said to stop meddling in the Middle East.
That's an entire continent. That's a religious war. I mean, this guy's, he's always peacocking around like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And his understanding, in my personal opinion, is that if he beats his chest enough and makes it seem like he could do something, it's a fucking pathetic cry for help for us to give him things he needs. Like, he thinks he has to puff out his chest and tough talk the rest of the world to get aid and imports and benefit packages. Like, he does all this shit. And then I've read before that people have analyzed him like, you know, he's not that great of a speaker. He's not a military tactician. He doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. He's a total fuck up.
Yeah, but apparently the other brothers were even worse. That's why he got inherited the position.
Well, perhaps they should have an election instead of letting one family fuck up the whole country for 60 years.
He's also probably the smartest one because he was schooled outside of North Korea.
He
spent most of his time, I want to say, in Italy or France as far as college.
That dude could work as like a cabinet member, but he does not work as a dictator.
No, he's... And again, you're talking about North Korea.
Take him out and reunite the Koreas.
Their people don't know half of the shit.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I think if we took him out, I think that's a country you would easily convince. Like, look, you've been being fucked for the last how many years? You know, they've had at least 3 different dictators that have been all the same.
Same bloodline. It'd be like that M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village.
Right, but just think about all the technology. They're basically in like the 1950s right now. Imagine if you took out Kim Jong-un
Yeah.
and then set up a big TV, and project, show them just news from the last fucking 10 years even.
They'd all just be like,
yeah.
eyes darting back and forth, jaws wide open, all agape.
Then you gotta you gotta wonder about how do you establish the new government for them. You can't do it for them. You'd have to teach them, You'd have to teach them how...
That's why I say reunite the Koreas.
Well, right. Yeah, and I think...
They'd have to follow the lead of the South, because the South has been, advanced, and it has all this technology, and it doesn't have a crushing dictator that keeps its people completely in the dark and makes them think he's like this superhuman hole-in-one putting...
Well, they don't know any better.
Maniac
That's the problem.
who doesn't apparently have a butthole.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't poop.
Or pee. He's essentially descended from gods to them.
Yeah, that's what they think. I don't know. He's just... The image that his father had is that he was this omnipotent being. And now Junior, for some reason, has a bug up his butt about not only having that same image, but trying to live it by build upon it. It's like he's hell-bent on world domination. Kim Il-jung is like Brain from Pinky and the Brain, but without the smarts. He's just such a fucking putz. But then, conversely, you've got China right now that's building landing strips and creating islands in the middle of the ocean in territory that multiple countries are arguing over who owns it. And they're going to end up having a small mini war over these fucking islands. There's going to be like microaggressions over it with the navies between Japan and China and all the whole fucking that side of the world. Jesus Christ. I mean, you got the Arab Spring and the ISIS crap, and Putin is trying to exude his dominance, and then you got all the Asian countries, and they're all trying to be number one.
So would you go back to more of an isolationist type of thing?
As much as I could. I kind of like that we have Cuba to work with now. It's kind of fucked up to just say, well, you were our enemy, but, come on back, let's work with you.
We have to get rid of the dependency on foreign oil. What would you do with the Keystone?
I think it's a stupid idea, because although it would help get more oil here, you got to worry about the environmental disaster that could happen there. Like, look at what happened with that giant oil spill off the Gulf.
Right, but that's all stuff that could happen no matter where you put it.
Possibly.
So, fuck it, because it's foreign land, but now we're going to be paying these Mujahideen fighters. Essentially, that's where the money all trickles down to.
Honestly, I think that I swear it's like the oil barons and the people with the power in the world have stopped science from coming to market with a car that runs on a different kind of fuel. And let's focus less on where we're going to get the oil and focus more on how are we going to advance the technology to not use oil and be dependent and deplete the ozone layer and poison the planet with all those emissions.
But until then, we're reliant on foreign oil.
As much as we have been. But I
thought that we were... I would say you need to figure out how to get American oil pumping into American
I thought
cars.
we were creating enough oil right now that we're not as dependent as we used to be. I thought that's where we're at now, is that we now have the capabilities from what's going on in the Dakotas.
It's getting better, but they're trying to stop all the Dakota drilling.
Well, if that means that we have to fucking stop driving around so much, so be it.
Take away a little bit of freedom for security.
There's not the freedom as much as you're trying to take away our dependence on another country, that the entire region is in a constant state of tumult, and you don't know when everything that you're dependent upon is just going to disappear. Like, what if somehow ISIS took over the entire Middle East? You think we're getting any fucking oil out of them?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll pay whatever they want. They will. It's all about
we just get it from Russia. I thought Russia has their oil, too.
Yeah, well, either way, you're going to be paying your enemy.
I would try to really make amends with Putin. I don't think he's going away anytime soon.
I think that'd be the best idea.
He has like that delicate balance between what North Korea does and what we do.
Yeah, he wants a fine line of batshit crazy.
I'm not like, yay, communism right now. It's not what I'm saying. But he doesn't just say it. He fucking proves it,
Oh, yeah.
Aside from the nerdy shots of him riding on horseback with no shirt on, he's a fucking soldier.
He's a badass. He's ex-KGB. You can't argue with that. That's like a Green Beret here.
And he's good at hockey. I don't know how much of that really is just people letting him score 9 goals a game. But the guy, he's a fucking alpha male.
And he's cool with the biggest bike club in Russia. You gotta love that.
I know you love
badass. I would love it if our president would get along with.
I think you need to, like I said, focus really a lot on Putin and trying to see how we can build a bridge with us. Like, why does there need to be one world superpower number one? That's the point of the UN, right? Is to kind of level the playing field, and so everybody is great and everybody has equal rights and everybody is not stepping on each other's toes. Like, the point of that was to share the planet.
That's their shiny title, yeah.
Well,
they're
put it into practice.
They're all for the one world government.
But, like, I'm a big proponent of zero population growth, but more especially negative population growth.
Does that mean you would instigate a China-style policy, a one-child?
Well, first off, before we get to that, goodbye anchor babies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sick of that shit. I'm sick of people coming here and they crawl over the border and then their uterus explodes like 5 feet from Mexico. And yay, it's an American. Fuck you, people that come here on vacation. And then it's not like the government's going to go, oh, are you pregnant?
It's called, what is it, maternity tourism. Maternity tourism.
People come here to shit out a baby to have a kid that's
Cambodia,
a fucking citizen,
I think,
so they can stay here.
a lot of that, where they send like 9-month pregnant women here.
People talk about immigration and figuring out the stuff with Mexico. I bet you if you tell people, hey, if you come here and you crap out a kid and it's not going to be a citizen, far fewer people will come here looking to shit out a kid to become a citizen themselves.
Right.
They'll have to go through the naturalization process, and it's a lot of work, and they might just say, you know what, fuck it, I think I'll hang out. But, we get all these people that come here that are, like you said before, like with the terrorists. They hate their country, and then they come here because we're the land of opportunity, and then they use that opportunity to hate our country, to try to turn here back into the parts of there that they like. They're mad that we're not the same way as what they had back at home.
Well, why the fuck do you think?
Don't fucking come here then. And that feeds back into my conscription thing. If you want to come here, and you're of a certain age, 2 years of military. You want to be a part of this country, you go spill some blood and fight for this fucking country. Yeah. And maybe you'll think twice about just coming here to start a new life and then suck up the resources and join a gang and be a terrorist and knock a bunch of broads up and commit a bunch of crimes and end up in jail anyway. So we have to figure out if we're going to deport you or not. So people that come here from all those African countries that are in civil war all the time, fine, you can fight for our country, but guess where we're going to send you? Right back to your fucking home country. And guess what my goal is there? You're going to have the arms and the means to take back your own country. And then, fingers crossed, you'll fucking stay there.
So what do you say to the people that are... Because I've seen this argument play out a couple times, and the naysayers always want to say, well, that's just a great way to put insurgents into our army. Because you already have that going on in Afghanistan with the Afghani military. Like, our guys are walking around having to watch their back from the Afghans, What would be your solution for not having to worry about that? Would you go with whole units of immigrant units? Or...
Nah, you can't do that because then you worry about like some break-off small militant group that goes after the other groups in their own divisions.
So how do you combat that without our troops having to watch your back?
Set the conscription at a level that discourages so many people from like 5 years. Instead of 2 years, 5 years. You got to come here and be in the military for 5 years. And then, like I said, we're not going to keep you here.
But
we're going to keep you over there.
If it's the plan of one of these insurgents to come in and join the military and take out our guys, they're not going to care how long of a term they got to serve. They're just going to get in long enough to get a gun and shoot one of our soldiers.
That's just like 1 or 2. They do that now and come here and try to join the military and just get a gun. Shit, they don't even have to join the military. I mean, the one thing that I learned from you telling me from the Fort Hood thing is I figured there'd be a few people with guns on Fort Hood, and you said, no, there's no weapons there. All they got to do, and we've seen it play out in real life, go to Fort Hood. You want to take out some of our soldiers, go there with a gun. If they don't have guns, and you fucking shoot them.
This brings me actually into my next question really good. Gun control. Now, there's been a lot of shit hitting the fan lately. Before we get into that, what is your ideal gun control?
I hate guns. I hate them because of their designated purpose is to destroy. You can't create with a gun. Like, there's recreation with a gun, but guns destroy. Projectile weapons kill. They're not...
But they're necessary.
Well, they wouldn't be if everybody didn't have them. But we have this mentality in our country that everybody has to have them all the time. Like, I need to get one because you have one, because the bad guys have one, because the terrorists have one, because we don't even know how many fucking guns there are.
But if you took away the guns, people that want to kill people are going to find ways to kill people. You don't need a gun to kill people.
Knife violence.
Exactly.
It's
huge
in China and Japan.
You want to take the knives after that?
No. You're never going to stop all the violence because violence is in our nature.
But taking away the guns would open up a whole new can of worms.
Well, you could never ideally get rid of all guns. Like, I personally don't like guns. I don't own a gun.
What would be
Other
realistic?
people have guns that they want for their own protection. I'm not going to say, well, you can't have that. But here's the problem, is we're saying we need to put more focus on mental health. Let's say I flip the script completely and I think, okay, I'm okay with guns now. I want a gun to protect myself and maybe to go do some target practice and shooting for sport because my friends are into it and I want to join in with the group. And then I have a falling down moment and I'm sitting there at the range with my buddies and I flip out and I just start shooting them. I could seem normal. You could seem normal. Joe Blow could seem like he's got everything, but look at that guy that murdered his fucking family in that gated community off of Lake Minnetonka. That guy was rich as fuck. He had the American dream is what he was living. And then suddenly he kills himself, his wife, and their 3 kids.
But he obviously had mental things lying.
Did he, though? You don't know.
Well,
it could be heat of the moment, where it's a crime of passion, like he caught his wife ready to leave him, or fucking some other dude, or chick, or whatever. Or, people that are batshit crazy, and people know that they're batshit crazy, should potentially never get their hands on guns.
But how do you define who's batshit crazy? And because I'll tell you, the way that it's getting set up right now is, and this is another part of why people are pissed about it, is one person, all it's going to take is one person to say, Jmann ain't right. And then you've been put on like a no-fly list for guns.
Oh, yeah.
And it can come from anybody. It can come from your kid's doctor, your kid's teacher, your doctor, anybody. It's going to take one person to put you in the column of mentally unstable, and your right to have a gun is going to be taken away.
Yeah, that's the downside, is that law enforcement doesn't have the resources or really...
It's a downside, and then that opens you up for the worst possibility of not being able to defend yourself and your family from a tyrannical government. Or
I'd be less worried
angry
about
militia,
that.
or street gangs, or whatever.
I already can't do that, because I don't have a gun. Even if I had one, it's,
Well, right, but that's what the whole Second Amendment is for. The Second Amendment was not made for hunting. It was made to protect yourself from tyrannical government.
I'm fine with that. I see the point of that, because that's why they had that Second Amendment, is because they had to break away from everything going on in England, because they couldn't have their own religious freedom, and they tried to have their own sect, that was separate but equal to what the Church of Great Britain or their archdiocese had, and they just wouldn't have it. Well, that's just religious narrow-mindedness caused an entire nation to be born and stolen. But, the Second Amendment was designed so we could defend ourselves. Cool. I get that. That's fine. But everybody's turning it into a mental health issue. And it's more of a human nature issue.
I don't know. A lot of it is mental health. A lot of these shooters have either had mental health issues or they're jihadists.
Could be. But have you ever thought about shooting someone for either a legitimate or a stupid reason? Because I feel like we should be putting sex offenders to death.
I have the mental capacity to not act on it. But again, who's to say?
I catch somebody trying to touch one of my daughters, I'm going to put him in his fucking grave.
But now, if you have a panel...
But they're going to say that's not a crime of passion. He's mentally ill.
No, not necessarily. Let's stick with that. Okay, under what they're trying to do, yeah, you'd be fucked. Like, they would define you as mentally incapable or whatever. But what if we had a panel of 10 psychiatrists? Or a panel of multiple doctors?
If there was a well-vetted out, multifaceted screening process that actually figured out who was mentally ill and who was just, run-of-the-mill anxious or depressed, or because everybody gets... Psychology today is out of control with how it diagnoses everybody with something, and everybody needs meds, and everybody's this, that, and the other. I mean, look at the fucking autism spectrum disorder boom. 50 years ago, there weren't one in, however many kids had autism. Back then, you were just slow, or a late bloomer, or you were full-blown mentally retarded. And now they're like, oh, so many kids have autism. Like, my own daughter, she had a speech delay. And they're like, well, she falls on the autism disorder spectrum. I'm like, she's not fucking autistic. Well, she falls on the spectrum. Like, so what? She's fucking brilliant with shapes and numbers and puzzles. And she's doing shit that kids 2 years older than her can't fucking pull off. Yeah, but it's the same thing with mentally ill. It's like someone who's going through a bad breakup, or his wife leaves him and takes the kids and he hasn't seen him in months, and suddenly you're like, well, he's unstable. We better not let him have a gun. Well, let's just say that to get over some of the depression, he takes up hunting or something. Any reason that somebody who's going through a horrible patch in life might want a gun, the way it's set up now, you make it sound like they're just going to say, well, he's fucked up. We better not give him a gun. But if there was a process that actually took the time to say, oh, Well, he's going through a rough patch, but let's not take away one of his constitutional rights.
Another one of the disorders that they're all of a sudden talking about is opposition defiance disorder.
Yeah, I totally have that.
Doesn't that just sound like a corrupt-ass way to take shit from you already? It's like, okay, I don't agree with our current administration. I have nothing good to say about them for the most part. Does that mean I have oppositional defiance disorder?
No, but like me, I hate the cops, and a lot of that has to do with people that can't handle or have an extreme distrust and disdain for authority, and that might have a propensity to act out upon that.
But that sounds natural to me, because the opposition has given you these reasons. It's not just for shits and giggles, you know? We don't hate cops for a reason.
Well, it's like
not hate cops for a reason.
Episode 3, I outlined it. I said, the reason that I have such a problem with cops is not because they are the police, and I'm doing something wrong, and I'm like, oh, they're going to get me. You have power over me. You have authority over me, and no matter what I do, if you, the cop with the power, or you, the county attorney, or you, the judge, think that I'm doing something wrong, your opinion plays into the power you've been given to take away my freedoms based solely on your opinion. Like, well, in my opinion, I think you violated the law this way. Yeah, everybody fucking hates people that have dominion over them. It's a natural part of being a human being. You don't want to be controlled. It feels shitty to have somebody tell you no all the time, and you can't do this and you can do that, but it feels even more shitty to have somebody take things you've done and twist your words or your actions, totally delude your intent into something criminalistic or negative or evil, and then say, well, you're a son of a bitch, and now you have to serve time for this.
So another thing that they're looking at doing is smart guns. So guns that can be disabled with some kind of electronic...
Fuck that.
Yeah. See, it's about the same thing as...
Uncle Sam's going to decide if my gun should or shouldn't work, because what if the government's like, you know what, we're sick of the people uprising over this, we don't fall in line with their cause, so we're going to shut all their guns off.
But the executive action that he took today was said that they need to pursue it further and make more advances on it. They are really pushing for the smart guns.
Yeah, but how do you fucking know that you're getting the right gun?
Well,
how do you know that someone's not going to hack the police guns?
Yeah, there's multitude of problems for it. So I don't even know why he felt the need to put that into this executive order.
Jesus, I thought he was just going to close the gun show loophole. What I read is that he was going to make it so that even small-time dealers had to apply for a license, so everybody they sold to would have a background check. I'm cool with that.
Well, wait
now,
the
smart gun shit. Wow, fuck that.
That becomes a registry. That becomes the government knowing every gun that's bought and who has every gun that's bought.
It's no different than having a vehicle registry.
Yeah, but it's a firearm thing. Everybody's got a car, sure, but...
Right.
If there's some shit going down and we need to overthrow a government, what's the government going to do? They're going to pull out their list of who has guns and they're going to go confiscate the shit.
Possibly.
It's happened before.
Well, they're not going to pull out a list. They might focus on a few individuals that they rule as radicals or revolutionaries.
Why do they get to rule that they're radicals?
Because they have the power.
See?
But I could turn my car into a car bomb and then fucking drive it into a goddamn government building like tomorrow. We register all kinds of stuff. We have cell phone registries.
Yeah, but they're not, that shit's not an integral part of a militia or a takeover. Guns are guns. Guns are there to protect you. You can kind of protect yourself with a phone if you call 911. You can kind of protect yourself with a car, but it's not anywhere near a gun. A gun, you can stop people from coming into your house. Well, how are you going to stop them with a phone? How are you going to stop them with your car in the garage?
That's the thing, is that if somebody breaks into your house, where's your gun, usually? Trigger locked it in a safe.
Yeah. Getting
to it and having it at your disposal that fast is the problem. That becomes an issue. So that's why I don't have one. I'm just like, I keep a fucking, like an 8-inch boot knife in my sock drawer. And even though I sleep with earplugs in. Yeah, so I have that, plus a myriad of other... Plus I'm in good shape and I know how to fight.
Yeah, but you can't fight against a gun if the other team's got a gun.
No.
You got a better chance with a gun if the other team's got a gun.
I don't think a lot of home invasions involve people coming in looking to commit gun violence as much as that's why you see a lot of houses get broken into in broad daylight when most people aren't home and they think the neighborhood's empty. Because most of your burglars are just looking for shit to pawn. They're not looking for people to kill.
Yeah, but the gun laws aren't really... The opposition to the gun laws aren't about that. They're about the traditional reason we have the Second Amendment. And it's not all that far-fetched, I don't think. We got the militia in Oregon right now, posted up at a federal building.
They're just hanging out, like, protesting what the government's doing, and notice that they're not looting. They're not shooting guns off into the air. They have their guns for their own protection, they said, but they have also stated that we're not here looking to get into a shootout with law enforcement. We're not here for violence. We're just here to occupy this building that's paid for by our taxes to support our cause. And the funny fucked up thing is that they're utilizing, like, this case that's in the news just to further their own cause. Like, they're making it seem like, oh, you're going to send this guy and his son back to prison for committing an arson where they did a controlled burn. But some people are saying that they did it to cover a poaching activity. And the thing that I talked about online with that is that this guy and his son, they served less than the standard minimum sentence. Their judge locally chose a downward deviation in sentencing. And then the federal government fund was like, you can't do that. We have federal guidelines for this shit. It was on government-owned land. You have to hold to these federal guidelines. And that's why the guy and his son are now saying, you know what, okay, fuck it. We don't want any more trouble. We'll go back and serve some more time while the lawyers figure this shit out. Odds are they're going to do all that time, the 4 or 5 years, before they get this hashed out in the courts. But those people have their guns for their protection. Technically, they could occupy that building without their guns, though.
Right, but it's a show
of force.
They're just exercising their amendment. They have every right to have the guns on them. I don't think it's. I mean, yeah, it's
they're fed up.
It's kind of a look at my big dick, but
yeah.
At the same time, too, they're just doing what they're legally able to do.
I honestly think they're trying to inspire people to radicalize, to almost overthrow the government. Because that's what they're pissed off about, is the way the government is working and also not working.
Depending on how conspiracy theory into it you want to get, yeah, there's powers at play that do want to see a civil war go on. No doubt about it.
I don't.
That's why they're putting us against each other in so many ways. There's the black and white. There's the rich, the poor. Every one of these sects, they're trying to get them fighting with each other. You got the poor people saying "fuck the rich people." You got the rich people who don't really say anything because they're rich, and then you got
they just want to stay rich, so they're like, "Fuck the poor people that are trying to get my money. I don't want to give you any of my tax money, so that you can give it to the poor people. I want to be super rich." So you get into like these trust fund kids that are like third generation money, like that fucking psychopath John DuPont.
Is that the pharmaceutical one?
Well, John DuPont. John DuPont was the guy that was the subject of that movie Foxcatcher. So he was this eccentric rich guy. It was part of the DuPont appliance family.
Yeah.
And that he wanted to get involved with Olympic wrestling, so he invited the top guy and his brother, and he started his own wrestling academy on his property. But he was like fucking wicked crazy, and he had mommy issues. So he basically thought that he was going to inspire people by helping fund and train part of the Olympic team. He wanted some of the glory of that. Like, he even say things like, "I'm inspiring hope," and he called himself the Golden Eagle. So he thought by trying to inspire people to perform in the Olympics that he was a patriot, but he bought guns and tanks and shit just for show. So you got people like him that are the super rich that are only concerned with their own stuff. They're trying to basically just sell their own brand. What's your next question? I tell you what, since we're talking about protests, I do more to let Black Lives Matter know that if they're going to do what they're going to do, you can protest, that's fine. Don't fucking occupy a government building and then stop the cops from being able to do their job. Don't go to the fucking airport and try to stop people from getting to and from Christmas or whatever. They need to pick a place to go. Pick a public street, but don't fucking stand in the road. I would tighten the penalties on that shit because of the harm to innocent people that accidentally get involved because they don't see what's coming up on the road, or because they didn't see that their plane was going to get stopped from taking off because 5,000 assholes were like, "Ha, gotcha, we're not at the mall, we're at the fucking airport, now you can't go see grandma." You can still protest, but keep it peaceful, because too often people see these uppity protesters, right? Like what happened in Ferguson. It was, we're protesting the police, but what happened? People that just wanted to commit crimes and inspire chaos and fuck shit up and loot, they jumped on the coattails of that, and suddenly you're looking at a crowd, and that's why it got so out of hand, because you had the peaceful protesters, and then you had the borderline people that wanted to start throwing rocks. Then you had the assholes that showed up just to start shit.
Yeah, it's the mob mentality. Once
one
person throws a rock, there comes the whole fucking mountain, dude.
Molotov, yeah, and then look what happened there. And that's why the police had the militaristic presence, because they're like, well, fuck, now they're trying to destroy an entire city.
So how would you improve race relations B, being like cops versus everybody.
I don't think the cops need to show up in fucking riot gear every time there's a heavy crowd. I get that you want to protect yourself, but do you really need to show up in a goddamn Humvee with your local
Again, that's coming back to look at my big dick thing.
Yeah, they think that the officer presence is enough. It's not anymore, because people are sick of you doing that shit, because you're being a bully. You don't need to show up and fucking start shooting off tear gas canisters all over the place.
So what do you do though then people when you take all that away from the cops and the cops say, well, fuck you then, I'm not going. Then what? Don't
go. We'll get somebody that'll do the job. You don't want to do the job, fine. But it's being out there in just your uniform with maybe a helmet on and a shield to deflect from rocks and shit. I mean, whether you have that and whether you have nothing, bullets are still going to go through the shield.
Right.
Obviously, you got your vest on. Like, look how many local departments got military-grade weapons and vehicles and shit. And that's what really drives people nuts.
But then the naysayers to that say, well, look at what happened in San Bernardino. They used all that shit.
They had military... Yeah, well, they had AK-47s and shit, yeah, but that's not the police. The police rolled up for a shootout because they were... Like, you don't just roll out a Humvee with a bunch of cops with tear gas guns because there's a protest. If there's an active shooter situation, by all means converge and then turn that fucking vehicle or that person into Swiss cheese. They're taking innocent lives. There needs to be a stronger level of checks and balances within these departments and organizations where they say, do we roll out all the bells and stops? No. You don't have to fucking escalate it so quickly, and that's how shit gets out of hand because people feel threatened. They need to relax. You can be the police without being an asshole, without being a law-enforcing militia. But as far as race relations go, well, good fucking luck with that. Because honestly, and this has been my view for a few years now, you can bitch so long about how you've been disadvantaged and how somebody needs to make it right. Or you could bitch about being disadvantaged and put your nose to the grindstone and go prove them wrong. Like, do you want to be the stereotype that complains about the treatment of people you probably weren't even related to back from 1865 and prior? Or do you want to show that, yeah, you're black, but you're proud of who you are, and that you're not just a black person, you're an American. Like, I'm not a white person. That's census data for me. I don't go around going, hey, I'm white. You know, I don't do that shit, just like I wouldn't expect anybody to be like, hey, we're black. Why? Why do we always have to mention race? Everyone's so fucking hung up on it. And it's like, shut the fuck up about slavery. I didn't enslave anybody. My parents didn't. My grandparents didn't. Statistically speaking, the population is so large now in this country that the majority of people living in it had nothing to do with enslaving people of color. Now, many people of color descended from slaves, but that doesn't mean that you have carte blanche to expect reparations now. Like, what does me giving you a house and a car and free college tuition do if you actually are a worthless piece of shit and you can't do anything with it? You can complain till you're blue in the face, but honestly, the key to solving race relations is to shut the fuck up and get over it. And I'm directing that only at black people, which probably sounds very racist, and they'll instantly accuse me of racism. But I'm saying, stop complaining, start doing. My friend, military, 2 tours in Iraq in the last few years, getting her master's degree. Since before she went over to Iraq, she was trying to do something with her life. Then she did something with her life, and now she came back, and she's still trying to do more with her life. She's the gold standard of what you should be if you were African American or black or whatever the fuck you want to be called in this country. Stop bitching and start doing.
How do you respond to the ones that say, well, we're not given the opportunity?
How do I know that? How do I know you're not just fucking lazy and complaining that, oh, we're not given the opportunity, so I'm going to sit here and continue to bitch online behind a fucking screen from my phone and just tell you how racist you are? I don't have time to hold down an entire race of people. I have a job. I have a family, and I have other shit that I have to do. You know, I have interests, personal interests, working out, playing with my kids, seeing my friends. Where in there am I taking anything from you? Unless you're talking directly to, like, white supremacist groups that are out there burning down all black colleges and then, you know, intercepting applications to other colleges and burning them. I don't see how they're being held down.
I think hypersensitivity is it's a growing problem.
It's huge because, you know what? You have tattoos. I have tattoos. Your tattoos are visible. Mine are not. So some people of the old generations go, oh, he's got tattoos. Just because you have tattoos on your neck doesn't mean that you're not a worthwhile person, that you shouldn't get a job, that you shouldn't be treated as everybody else. Just because we're in our 30s and not in our 50s doesn't mean that we're not as useful in a position like politics as somebody that spent the last 20 years as a lobbyist and then an intern and has this background of politics 3 generations deep in their life. Like, who's to say? Because we're Joe Everyman. Maybe we have a better handle on what Joe Q Public wants.
And that's actually a good example because technically I do get discriminated against almost every day at work. When I show up to a homeowner's house, I get it on multiple levels. I get the sideways look, first of all, because of the tattoos. That's the first thing I really realize. So instantly they think I'm a criminal. And then once they realize that I'm not a criminal and I'm a nice guy, I get it from my age. They always try to sneak in the question of, so how long have you been doing this? And whenever I tell them 13 years, they look at me like I'm full of shit. And it's like, well, what's the difference? It's like, I've been doing this for 13 years. I look young, but I'm not young. Even if I am young, would you rather have an old man come here to sand your floor? Like,
who's broken down and can barely fucking control the
right.
sander anymore or do anything.
Exactly.
Or he shakes from years of absorbing chemicals through his body. Like with guys that have worked in print shops forever and have those little tweaks and twitches.
But point being, I turn it into a joke. I fuck with them half the time. You know, sometimes I'll even say, I just started yesterday. This is my 3rd floor. You know, I don't get pissed and have a confrontation about it every time. I mean, if the guy's an asshole about it, then I kind of start to get a little asshole edge. But most of the time, I make fun. You know, and I tell him, yeah, I look like I'm 21, but I'm 31 going on 32. I've been doing this for 13 years. I love what I do. You know, I just take control of that conversation. I don't make it a big negative thing. Like, what, you think I can't fucking do this job? You think I'm a criminal because I got tattoos? I can't wait till you leave your house because I'm going to steal all of your shit.
Right.
No, that's not how I handle it.
A lot of these people that bitch and piss and moan about being disadvantaged, like, look at you. I'm not saying that you can't have a sense of individuality, but have a little fucking self-respect. If you weigh 200 pounds, why the fuck are you trying to pour your fat gravy ass into a pair of stretch pants and parade around Walmart with your 6 kids? Oh, look, there's another stereotype. People that are poor have more kids. They have more time to fuck around because they don't have a job.
We gotta stop feeding the stereotype.
And they don't have access to health care for the birth control to stop having the fucking kids.
I seen one thing on Facebook today. They were trying to say that poor people are fat because they can only afford junk food.
That's true.
No, I'm poor. I'm not fat.
No, a big portion, like what they give people at the local food shelf project, like through the county,
yeah,
is they give them a box and it's almost all carbs. There's no protein. There's no dehydrated fruits and vegetables.
They get meats.
Not through there, they don't. They might, through the Second Harvest food shelf, if they go there, be able to, but through the government program, they get like a block of government cheese.
Okay, but that's
and a grab bag of random like noodle-based things. So that's why like poor people can live off of ramen and macaroni and cheese, but they can't afford like a hamburger or blueberries.
There are hundreds of different programs out there now for poor people that are set up from the government, but you can get good food. It's just a matter of finding it. It's a matter of not being lazy. All you gotta do is do a little research, and you can eat healthy out of any budget.
Well, I'm all for taking these poor people that don't have jobs and building gigantic food shelf-like community gardens that are
all the wasted space.
Hundreds of acres, and then now you have a purpose. You're creating something that's beneficial where we're feeding people, and it's healthy. Like, we can grow fruits and vegetables. We don't necessarily have to be so goddamn reliant on beef, because we should probably get away from that. Maybe we don't even need to eat as much meat.
Protein's important.
Protein is what made
us
evolve. There are other protein sources that you could have. I've seen what poor people eat, and where do they go? Fast food because it's cheap and easy. You got the dollar menu, or you got like you can buy an entire suitcase.
It's laziness. It's easy. That's the biggest thing. Is it's easy.
Well, yeah, because if they wanted to work, they'd try harder to get a job so they'd have the money to buy decent food. But it's like, I almost wish McDonald's would go out of business. I'm so sick of hearing about McDonald's is reporting that they're having more problems getting people. Well, it's because your food is shitty and people have figured you out, asshole. I mean, you could polish a turd until you're blue in the face. It's just going to be a shiny piece of shit. Right. And then you could say, oh, we've got the Fresca menu items. No, once again, I could take a shit on a plate and call it meatloaf. It's not going to make it taste any better. It's still McDonald's. Did you lose your train of thought?
No, I just don't know where to go from here now.
Well, it has a lot to do with just people need to stop complaining and start trying. Like when my daughters cry, I've got this line I use to them, like, don't say can't, show me try. Because that negative, I can't do this, self-defeatist attitude is what is pretty much the hallmark of the I generation now. It's a bunch of spoiled cunts that are, that's offensive. You can't say that, I just fucked him over. Look what I did. Now I'm going to comment about it online, and I'm behind the screen on a phone like,
the gotcha culture.
You're such a piece of shit. Oh, fuck you. I'm going to call you out, and then we'll see if anybody likes you or goes to your business anymore because I just called you a homophobe or a racist. Wow. That fucking cake shop that got sued for $135,000 for not making a cake for a gay couple.
Or Idaho. I don't remember which one it was.
Jesus Christ. Really? Like, as a business, it's your business. You should be able to refuse service to certain people if you like, but don't base it upon their race or their sex or religion. I mean, base it upon they're an asshole. Like, oh, that guy came in here last time with 4 kids and he didn't watch them the whole time and he just ate while he tore up the joint and fucking strewn salt shakers and napkin dispensers all over the goddamn thing like this place was a fiesta.
That's another good point. How would you...
Stop having so many fucking babies. The problem with not having the resources and why people are so disadvantaged is because we don't have enough jobs. That's why, like, the whole biggest issue with me is there's too many fucking people. That'd pretty much be my campaign slogan. Fewer fucking people. I mean, God, if you don't want any kids, like I said before in episode 1, dude, I will come up with a program where you can get a free vasectomy.
I seen something they're making a switch that guys can literally turn off and turn on their fertility. I didn't really read too much about it.
Isn't it called a condom?
No, it's like a button implanted in them where it's like a light switch.
Now, we're too relying on machines. I mean, now you're going to put fucking machines in your body so you can just get a fucking vasectomy, get it over with. You'll be way happier. Maybe you won't get all the women you want. They're like, well, I really want to start a family. Well, I don't. There's too many fucking people, and let's be real. Saying that there's a population problem, I don't view that as extremist. That's pragmatism right there. Supply and demand. There's not enough resources to meet the demand of all the people. I mean, if we had fewer people, we wouldn't have to fight for so few jobs. And maybe all these people that we have that are poor and stupid and just hold on to what little bit of anything that they have with a gun wouldn't be around to be like one less gun hanging around the hood. Because that's what Chicago is right now, right? A fucking war zone of people that are fighting over limited resources, all trying to be king shit. And it's like all these gangs are fighting for territory over what? Drugs? Okay, well, if I legalize the pot, then you don't have to worry about that. And if you have legal pot, maybe people won't want to move on to meth and heroin.
The money's not in the pot. Money's in the other drugs. I think you would have to legalize all drugs.
Oh, God damn it.
It's dangerous, but like I said before, it'll be a messy first couple of years. And
then after a while, like everybody is like, oh, look at that, all the people that like meth are dead.
Right.
Ideally, yeah, I guess, but it's just, you're opening Pandora's box. I think that if we legalized all drugs, it'd be like taking a kid to the Humane Society, and then, like, instead of having him go room by room and try to see which dog he interacts with best, just all the dogs together with the one kid.
I don't know if that comparison really works, because then you would have to, that would be like saying, okay, we'll make marijuana legal this year. Next year, we'll make heroin legal. The year after that, we'll make this legal. And then we'll repeal them back as they go.
If I legalized all drugs as a president, and then, like, all the dopers pretty much all, like, died, boo-hoo, because I'm for population control anyway,
exactly.
For negative population growth. So I guess ideally, yeah, if a bunch of fucking lazy pieces of shit that just want to shoot heroin all OD, cool. Sorry for your family, but I don't fucking care about you because I decided a long time ago that I want to live a drug-free lifestyle. I've never tried or taken any drugs ever. I drank a little bit for a few years of my life, but I've never been drunk.
And when he says drink, he means like Mike's Hard Lemonade. It was
either Smirnoff Ice or Yag. Those are my drinks. I don't like beer and I don't like hard shit, so I would either just have Yag or like Smirnoff Ice.
And the other problem with making anything illegal, as soon as you make something illegal, you've created a black market for it. And there's going to be fighting over who controls the black market.
Why is it got to be called a black market?
Because I'm racist.
Okay. Son of a bitch. It's another thing that they call in black that we got to get butthurt about.
Wow. I don't know. I think that's about it, huh? Check us out on Twitter. What do we call it? Podcast. You can check us out on Google Blogspot at podcast.blogspot.com. And listen to us on Podomatic at podcast.podomatic.com.
This is getting bad that there's so many things for you to remember to say where to find us that you're like, fuck, I'm going to confuse them. So also YouTube and Facebook and SoundCloud and Spreaker now.
Oh, yeah, Spreaker. I seen on Spreaker we could do a live podcast.
We could, but then we couldn't edit out the parts where like we stutter or the cat meows or you have to get up to piss.
That'd be the fun part for audience.
I don't know. They might be like, Jesus Christ, is this what these motherfuckers sound like without all the filters and the careful editing? My God, it's chaos.
Well, then I seen too. You could chat with people during it. It might once we get some viewers. That might be fun to do.
It would,
because then you can get into it with people.
Well, then
they could be calling you an idiot, and then you could be telling them they're idiots.
And from the basement, I am Jmann.
I'm Danny.
And that's the end.